So yeah, I'm David Depew. I'm drinking an old fashioned made with a mango and no sugar. This is the Runaways Chicago Drunk History. Promoting the show. The Party House. I know you've all had your party houses. So let's take it way back to the times of Prohibition with the most famous Chicagoan, Al Capone. Now he ran around the neighborhood a lot of us hang out, just off Cermak. And I suppose those were the first party houses, the speakeasies. Yeah, it's a good old fashioned. So they all drank their hooch and scooted around underground, tunnels, tunneling whiskey, illegally, DIY, party housing, kids, young women. Good times. Good times. Don't we all wish that we could be young forever?
Yeah.
The moment lives on. Even after they legalized booze, it just made it easier. And we all developed our own party houses. Now I come from a little bit down south in a town called Champaign, Urbana. And down there, we partied hard, even when we were young. Spent many a day chiefing out the house. Parents sneak away, grab a keg, call your DJ friend. Hell, play your band instrument. Oh man, that day, my friend jumped off my roof into the tree in the backyard and it split. Him falling all the way down, into my yard, onto my hot tub. Good times, you know? You only had to be 17 or 18 to get in the bars in Urbana, and they started letting me around at 15 or 16, so I got used to it early. Chugging 40s. But by the time I was 18, I was worn out. Worn out on the towny parties, and I was ready for the big city, Chicago. I got my partying in, and I was ready. Well, you know, there's a lot of fun in games, but I tried to go to the dorms, and that's a place you should never go. Ended up in jail. Threw me in jail for having too much fun. But soon after that, I was smoking grass again. My buddy one day said, "You look kind of bummed." I was like, "Yeah, wish I could smoke." And he's like, "Come over." I went over to his house, and that was one of the first party houses I was introduced to in Chicago. Call that one the Mad Pad. And we used to always just go there, weekdays, weekends, whatever. Even in college, you talk about class while you get drunk, because you're kind of interested, you know? You could jam on your djembe, drink to your heart's desire. You could drink with some African immigrant who got crazy as fuck and drank a whole bottle of Heritage every damn day. Things get kind of creepy sometimes, but it's all good, you know? And sooner or later, sure enough, we're going to all kinds of other college parties, houses, Pilsen, Wicker Park, Logan Square, all over Chicago, getting drunk, puking on the train. Who knows? You know, one time I puked on the train. Oh man, and I felt so bad about it because it was like I was alone, it was late as night, I was coming back from some dorm party and they had like snuck a keg into the dorm somehow. And I puked on the train and I was like, oh my God, nobody even saw it. And I waited because I was only one stop from my house in Logan Square, and I waited. And I just got off and I was like, ah. And then like 3 weeks later, I see this guy, Ron B, and he's like, "Hey Depew, I saw you puking on the train the other day." And I just felt like a huge relief sweep over my shoulders that I could finally like be humiliated for this thing, because I hadn't even like had the balls to like jump off the train and puke in the garbage can. Like somebody had to clean up my mess. But that becomes a theme, you know, in parties. It's like, oh, you gotta clean up. And once you get older, you realize you gotta clean up your own mess. But when you're younger, sometimes you make that mistake. You pass out on somebody's couch, you pass out on somebody else's bed, you piss in your friend's bed. Who knows what happens, you know? But when I was younger, I kept it more respectful. I think I had a little bit more caution, you know? Maybe my arrest or something. But I guess the way we started going to parties was like kind of through blogs. Was the original like big show venue type space stuff was blogs like Nihilist, Virgin, you know, like Ortman and all those guys kind of related, like Thurston Moore and stuff, all that stuff. Some of the old spaces we used to go to a lot were like Warloft and Buddy and Enemy and Heaven, which were all right there just on Milwaukee, just south of Six Corners. And I actually ended up living at the space that they had named Buddy and renamed Happy Dog. By the time I lived there, it was called the gallery formerly known as Happy Dog. And now it's called No Nation. But the landlord ended up kind of getting a little stricter after we'd thrown like millions of fucking parties, and like when I moved in there, they owed a whole bunch of gas money and stuff. Went through a couple Halloween parties 2 nights in a row where I was throwing away like 10 garbage cans full of beer the next morning, but we fucking paid the electric and the gas, you know? And it was a dope ass party. Should have seen the pile of coats and costumes the next day. Nobody came back for that shit either, you know? Sometimes when you go to a party, things get left, you know what I mean? You leave pieces behind, you know? Like you argue with girlfriends, you get in fights, you make out on the dance floor. That's what happens. The Playground, Electric Company in French, Go-Go Town, Co-Prosperity, still in existence, now legitimate venue. Doctor Who's Warehouse of Ideas, the 21st and Troop Bar Space, Swag City, Campbell, Black Lodge, 657, Drone City, The Future. The oldest ones, Boris Karloff and Flower Shop. Boris Karloff, that's the first bitch pork that I remember. Dan Deacon had played Pitchfork and he was at Boris Karloff afterwards. So was Deer Hunter. And it was so fucking wild. It was this old space and it was like, now it's just totally abandoned. It was like fucking, like the landlord just, it got condemned or some shit, but it was like a 2 or 3 story like warehouse space. They had like a beautiful, huge kitchen, huge main room, outdoor space, and like they just crank the music because there's nothing else by there, like Walcott and Walnut or whatever. All that's by there now is like the 312 Brewery and like my friend's Midnight Studios and shit. Like, oh, good times. Forgotten nights, you know. Those things that like seem to like exist in like an infinity of like beyond space time, you know, like that place you do wish you could always go back to that would like make you feel young.
What about Mopery and
oh, Mopery,
Mordville?
dude. Oh my god. Mopery was nuts. I remember that fucking guy. This one guy told me one time, he's like, you know, they all lived in this huge space and now it's a fucking gym and they didn't even do much conversion on it. Like, it was just a huge open space. These people were just so into DIY. You know what I mean? Like, they were into it. They all lived in tents on the side of the fucking place. The guy told me like what he would do. He's like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna spend 6 hours mopping this fucking place. And that's like the dedication it takes to like really host parties. Like I used to do every week events, you know, even just like during the week of like a dinner event, and like, you know, you spend fucking hours cleaning, you throw away lots of garbage. The shit, it goes down, but somebody's got to be there, like, you know, fueling the fire, conducting, you know.
Cleaning, yes.
Well, my last place, the Culture Lounge. I feel like it was almost oversaturated then, the party houses, but that place was wild as fuck. It used to be a bar. It was called Ace of Spades. And it was like a gangster bar, and we took it over, and all there was like an office in the back. We like built some like loft type spaces, some like quick like walls, which is kind of just like the traditional thing that's like gone on in New York since forever, like kind of how gentrification starts almost, which is why it's a big red flag for some people. You know, you start taking places that are nothing, and then you start building rooms in them, you start making art there, you start breaking the rules, and you're like having fucking shows every weekend until 4 a.m. with noise bands that like nobody could tolerate, you know? Like when I was in California, everybody was about that life kind of, and they're like, but you know, you gotta think about like, if you're playing music people like, because if you're playing music people like, they're not gonna complain. Like at that Culture Lounge place, we had a lot of noise shows, and the neighbor would get real mad. He'd get real mad, and he'd bang, or he'd call the cops, or whatever. He had a chip on his shoulder. He's like, I put up with you for all those times when you were having those parties till 4 a.m. or you're banging on trash cans, you know, and some transvestite jumped on top of you trying to make out with you, you know? It's like, yeah, you know, I can understand a little bit, but like, let's have a little respect for like that age that people have, because that's not the spirit of the party house, you know? It's like, the spirit is I understand, like I love you too, but like I have to live my life too. The Halloween party really set it off at Culture Lounge. That shit was fucking nuts. I swear, as I get to an adult, Halloween's one of those party holidays where shit gets real. You know what I mean? Like, it's really terrifying. Like, I'm not scared of a ghost. I'm scared of reality, you know? At Halloween, I'm scared of reality of addiction and partying, you know? And like human relationships. The craziness of creating something. And so we're like, well, we're just gonna make a haunted house. And so we start digging up all the shit from our basement and all the ghosts. When we did the haunted house in the basement, we had like a fucking whole room of mirrors, right?
Yes.
We had a whole room of mirrors all around. And I just had my friend Roy with like the fucking big curly hair and a full clown outfit just sitting there like, hey kids, with all the mirrors around them. And if they even made it past it, then they keep walking. And there was like this dungeon room, and like, let's say this is this room. It's this huge wooden door. You've got like a low ceiling. You open the wooden door, and there's like a little cutout hole too, so you could like peep in on somebody. You go in there, and there's like 2 nuns in there, and there's a shower. There's a shower that's like running, and 2 nuns like covered in blood, like, and they start going like you are going to hell. You will never be saved, Jesus, the Mother Mary, you know? And, you know, some kid, like, fucking peed their pants, and they run upstairs, and, they, you know, and they don't know the way out, and they go this way, and then I'm sitting there with, like, a chainsaw, like, and they get there, and then Joe Dummett's just at the end, like, chilling, like, jamming on a DJ booth with, like, a creepy vocal, and, like, a haunted tent scene, and, like, a visual above here of like static and just a bunch of blood rooms and images, you know, you make your way out through like tunnels and shit, but I think it's just something that's like natural to expression. You want to party because you want to share your experience, you want to be part of that which isn't you. And when you're younger, you're still trying to figure out who you are, so it makes it a little bit more important. And I think it's important that we all remember our party houses. Cheers.